Walmart employees. What's the worst thing you have seen inside your store? Thanks to you/the wrestling valet for the thread. Link is in the description. Go upvote them. My time to shine. First job out of high school, 2009. Moved cross country to be with my girlfriend. End up working at a Walmart as a janitor overnight in the worst part of town in Tulsa, Admiral/Memorial for any locals. This place had everything it could under lock, high theft. And a few people had died there, so the workers nicknamed it Kill Mart. One night, a guy's in the sporting goods area and wants to buy something. He takes his wallet out, sets it on the counter for a second. Thief walks up and grabs it, runs off. The victim proceeds to grab a golf club, chase the man down and violently beat him in an aisle. Blood, broken neck. I'm like 95% positive the guy died. Destroyed aisle. Everyone in the store flipped. A bunch were calling people to view it in the CCTV room. My manager waved me down and asked me to clean up the aisle so the store would look nice for the morning. You know, the crime scene. I clocked out for a lunch. Quit the next day. Had a customer in a motorized scooter, his personal one. Not store provided, come up to me at the sporting goods desk and he asked me where the cans of compressed air are. I walk him over to some and he thanks me, grabs a can off the shelf, and proceeded to start huffing it right in front of me. I've only been working at a Walmart for 2 weeks. I've had 3 people lose their temper on me. One woman slammed her card into someone else's cart because she couldn't buy alcohol with an expired ID. And one guy tried to walk away with a whole cart of groceries, in which a different customer walked after him and literally dragged him back inside. Again. 2 weeks. I worked at Walmart about 20 years ago, being the manager of the photo lab before digital took over, so my department was right next to the electronics department. I'm chatting with the manager of the electronics department, and all of a sudden we hear a woman yell, "Here it comes." We then see a middle-aged woman frantically scuttling down the aisle, holding her shorts near the back. She ran to the restroom. It looked like when a dog is sick and you're trying to get them out the door before they make a mess all over your carpet. An employee went in with a pair of pants off the shelf to help out. She put them on and made a beeline toward the exit without paying for them, leaving her soiled shorts in the stall on the floor. This thread is kind of like a Walmart itself. I want to go in and see what's up, but I'm a little bit scared of what I might find. So I used to stock the crafts section on overnights. I'm kinda an awkward person, so no human contact was great for me. This old guy on a scooter insisted upon sitting in my aisle for like hours, just staring at the needles. Okay, whatever. I stocked everything I could, but finally I needed him to move, and honestly I was a little creeped out at this point. I mentioned it to my manager on the way to lunch. After lunch he was gone. Turns out he had died there like 5 hours ago. I used to paint houses in Seattle and one day there was a dude on the corner. Looked like a run-of-the-mill homeless guy in a wheelchair sitting folded over front down. I first saw him in the morning as I was walking into the apartment complex we were painting in. Come lunchtime about 4 hours later he's still there. Exact same position. Now when I say folded over I mean this guy looked like he just up and flopped over dead. No way I could ever fall asleep like that. It looked to be the least comfortable way one could be if they were still capable of feeling anything at all. So I grabbed my lunch and on the way back I saw my boss and pointed out the guy saying has been like that for at least a few hours. Boss mentions having also seen him like that earlier and goes up to a nearby cop and points him out. Then we go back inside. Well, on the way out for the day the guy was not in that spot anymore. I assume the worst is, like I said, that dude didn't look like he was freaking sleeping. But as I round the corner and walk another block, there he is sitting upright in his chair eating a gosh darn Big Mac. When I worked at Walmart, a week wouldn't go by without someone crapping on the ground somewhere in the store. Usually in the clothes section. Worked there for a month as a summer gig during prime recession time. Luckily my department was a lot less crazy than some of the others or someone like a janitor. Plenty of weird stuff happened in my short time there, but only one thing really scarred me, and it isn't what you'd expect. One day employees and lower management in departments around mine kept getting pulled in for questioning and I never did so. I was on alert. Finally I get called in and all the higher management were in there with concerned faces. Turns out a black employee accused me of racism and harassing him, saying that I called him the N-word multiple times. Not only did I never do this, but I'd never even had a full conversation with this guy before because something seemed wrong with him, so I just avoided him if I could. This is a big deal for any company, and I instantly started having a small panic attack because I've never been put into a situation like that, and my only defense was that all I could say was no, I never did that. Luckily, one of the managers brought up checking security footage for conclusive evidence in case a lawsuit or something of that popped up. In the end, they had security go through every minute of security footage of when I was working and saw that not once did I have a single interaction with the guy. The whole thing shook me up, and it all just made me feel bad, so I never worked there again. Watched a high schooler stoned out off his mind trip over his own feet and slam through a middle aisle display of those egg crate file holders. Those suckers went everywhere. Also, an old woman tracking diarrhea through the store trying to find the bathroom cause she shat herself. Not an employee, but a very frequent Walmart shopper. All the Walmarts around me are pretty nice. Never seen anything nasty going on. But there was an incident once that still sticks with me to this day. When I was younger, my mom had to grab meds at Walmart in the middle of a store. It wasn't a bad storm or anything, just very rainy with some thunder, but it was supposed to continue for several days. So of course the store was packed. So we were in line at the in-store pharmacy, and there was a man who was clearly mentally disabled, with a helper, in the front of the line. The man between us and them was this dude who in my young mind must have been a lawyer, did not fit the stereotypical Walmart look at all. Wearing an expensive-looking suit, perfectly gelled hair, literally carrying a briefcase. He looked annoyed that he was there at all. He intensely reminded me of Patrick Bateman. Just an air of disinterest and arrogance. And was brushing his coat off every time anyone walked too close to him. Everything's fine. And the guy and his helper at the front of the line get their prescriptions and start to turn around. Just as they do, there's a huge thunderclap, and suddenly, the power goes out in the store. It's not pitch black, and immediately there's commotion in line. I look up just in time to witness disabled man punch lawyer dude square in the face. Lights flicker. Come back on. Disabled guy is freaking out. Helper is profusely apologizing and trying to help lawyer guy. Lawyer guy waves him off with a glare. Walks to the front and calmly says his name plus info and throws down some money. Pharmacist hands him prescription, which he snatches wordlessly and turns away, brushing past me still holding his nose, leaving a trail of blood on the linoleum floor. I don't know why, but the entire thing felt so surreal. I still remember it like it just happened. Wildest thing I've ever seen in Walmart. Somebody was standing next to a female mannequin and took off the clothes and tried to stick his dick into the mannequins. Can't unsee that for the rest of my life. Someone throwing their used children diaper on top of the freshly baked cookies I just put out. Skeptical had to throw out 700 cookies. I was an overnight manager at the time. The store is located in the crappiest area of a major city at a 24-hour store. At around 2 a.m. the overnight loss prevention associate had just caught a guy shoplifting on the cameras, and I had been called up to help him. Things go smoothly. The guy had stolen less than $50 worth of stuff and complied, so it went pretty easy. After letting the shoplifter go, the loss prevention associate had some paperwork to do, so I jumped on the cameras to see what's going on in the store. I soon find a shady-looking individual lurking around the electronics department. He's clearly making sure no one is in the vicinity watching him. He sneaks into an aisle and grabs an all-in-one monitor/desktop combo wrapped in spider wrap. I still don't know why a $1,000 plus computer wasn't locked behind a cage. He quickly takes it to a different aisle, easily works the spider wrap off the box, takes the computer out and shoves it into his sweatpants. Slinking over into the clothing racks and apparel, he hides the computer in some pants and sneaks around for the next 15 to 30 minutes trying to watch the employees up front by the registers. At this time of night only our cigarette aisle is open. All of a sudden, while watching, a blonde lady in our only open register line and crouched behind a rack of shirts. He pulls out his dick and starts wanking it. Then he wiped himself clean on a shirt that was hanging in front of him. At this point we know we don't want to deal with him at all, so we call the cops. Well, as soon as he finished cleaning off, he heads back to where he hid the computer, puts it back in his pants, and starts to head our way. We realized he was going to get to us before the cops, so as soon as he passes out last point of sale, we head out of the monitoring room and confront him. It is here that I should mention that we are supposed to be a hands-off store. As in, if we confront a shoplifter, we're supposed to stop them with words. But at this location in the middle of the night, everybody's a runner. Obviously this guy decides to run. We tackle him and pin him to the ground. Luckily soon after the police show up and we let them handle him from there. I worked customer service at Walmart for a little bit, and one night just as I was closing customer service down, a man came in screaming for help. He was wearing a white shirt but it was drenched red in some areas. He said he was shot twice and he thought he was gonna die. He lifted up his shirt to show us he wasn't just some druggie and really needed help. Lo and behold, there were 2 holes bleeding around this man's torso. Lucky for him, an off-duty paramedic was in line buying groceries and called it in fast for the ambulance. Mine's much more mild. Think of it as a palate cleanser for the rest of the horror stories in this thread. I worked at a Walmart for one summer during college. I was a courtesy associate according to my name tag, but I preferred the title of cart wrangler. My job was to recover shopping carts, help customers get big stuff into their cars/trucks, and keep the parking lot clean. As a result, I had a particular disdain for a class of customers I referred to as oil changers. They'd run into the store to buy some automotive product, like engine oil or windshield washer fluid, use said product on their vehicle in the lot, and then leave a mess on their way out. My most memorable was a group of kids in their late teens/early 20s like myself at the time. Busted up little 4-banger sedan. I think it had no interior panels. They bought a trunk-mounted subwoofer box, installed it in the lot, and left the empty cardboard box for me to clean up. Yes, it was a minor annoyance, but when there are 1 or 2 garbage cans in between each and every lane on the lot and you can't be bothered to use one, I think my annoyance was justified. Once while I was restocking shelves, there was a kid peeing into an open cereal box. The bathrooms, especially the ladies, they just don't care about keeping it clean or hygienic. Disgusting is all I have to say. Not an employee, but I felt really bad for one. My brother was at Walmart with my friend and I. We were looking through pet stuff and there was an aisle with plungers at the end. Being the 13-year-old he was, my brother could not resist the temptation of picking one up and sticking it to the floor. We laugh a little. After he does this, he goes to put it back, and the whole rack falls down. He's frantically trying to place all the plungers back as my friend and I are running away and cackling. Then, an employee walks up and starts to help him. Apparently the whole shelf, 3 racks of plungers, was unstable, and as they were putting the last few on, the racks above clatter to the ground and now there are probably 50 plungers rolling around on the floor. My friend and I are freaking dying watching from the clothing section. The employee just puts his head down, sighs, and tells my brother he can just leave. We didn't get in trouble or kicked out, but I'm so sorry for that poor employee. It was funny as heck, though. I worked as a photo lab specialist for 2 years and saw some really awful pics. The worst was a toddler surrounded by marijuana buds and guns. We had to get the on-duty cop involved when the guy came back to pick them up. Not Walmart but Lowe's. Someone had a mobile meth lab set up in lawn and garden. Not an employee but off-duty police officer. 2 homeless people dug out a hole into the paper towel section and were living in it. They finally found them when someone complained about 2 people having sex in the toilet paper aisle. Those employees do not get paid enough. Let's see. I've seen a guy walking on 10 feet stilts. A guy with his tongue out. A lady pull her pants down to adjust her panties. A guy pass out from huffing an aerosol can. A chick passed out on the ground. Low blood sugar. A car catch on fire. An employee die in his car in a parking lot. Old, and lots of fights. I'm sure there's more, but I can't remember. No, I personally didn't see some of these, but I'm friends with employees. There's nothing to do in this town, so when something happens, I hear the stories a few times. At the time of this story I was an overnight manager. While I was walking my rounds I had an associate come up to me and tell me that a customer told he to get the frick away from me or I'll kill you itch, and that he was headed towards the hardware department. She gave me a quick description: headphones, hoodie, white guy. I radioed the overnight asset protection guy so he could locate him on camera and headed out to find him. I see someone matching his description facing the other was down an aisle in hardware and I go to confront him. He turns around and he's holding a freaking hatchet. I keep my distance and ask him to leave. It's then that I realize that he's talking to himself. His conversation with himself is very conspiratorial in nature. With my limited knowledge on the subject, I have always thought. I quietly radioed someone to call the cops and to let them know about the hatches. They picked up a few things and headed to the registers while I followed him from 20 feet back. We opened a register just for him and things went smoothly from there. He left the hatches at the register, but I continued to follow him from there. As he got to the front door, a line of cops confronted him with assault rifles and shotguns out and ready. He complied and it ended as well as I could have hoped. I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Happened to be listening to a certain radio talk show this morning? Smile. No maintenance was there. I had to clean it. Worst ever. Some people signed up for an oil change. Then threw one of those household bug bomb foggers into their car while they waited. When the technician went out to pull the car in, it was full of white smoke from the insecticide and the interior was covered in thousands of roaches all trying to escape the fog. We told them to leave. Worse this week, guy signs up for an oil change, and the technicians find 2 live cats in under the hood of the minivan. The owner came out to deal with it, saying they were his. That's it. I'm never going into a Walmart ever again. There must be some kind of force field or aura that gives people unstoppable diarrhea. Give them 10 minutes. I'm about to head there right now. Code Adam, missing kid, wandering the store looking for a little boy and we see him flying down the main aisle. On a bike. He clipped the edge of the end display and went flying into a shelf and got banged up. This is the worst one. Again, young kid. Maybe 7-ish. Laying on the bottom part of the cart. He was looking up through the cart and his head was at the front. Mom hit a bump. Kid slid forward. Head bent back and went under the cart while he was still on it. That one was disturbing, but he didn't have any issues other than screaming for the first minute or two after. One of my coworkers bought weed from another. While working, they then proceeded to smoke some of it. Right in front of the store. I don't smoke. But honestly, I couldn't blame them at all. Mine actually happened yesterday. I was walking back to my area and saw one of my coworkers in front of a puddle. She said, "Walk around." I responded, "I don't want to know." Her immediate response was, "It is urine." I lowered and shook my head and walked by. Have any stories of your own? Tell me in the comments. Thanks for watching.